Why do people join fringe groups, also known as cults? Cults are better referred to as fringe groups by the FBI and are not specifically religious groups. Some are political, therapy-based, or focused on self-improvement. These fringe groups are modernly known as a group or movement with a shared commitment to an extreme ideology, typically led by a charismatic leader. A psychiatrist and Harvard professor, Robert J. Lifton, wrote a scholarly article called Cult Formation, in which he described the three characteristics of a destructive cult. 1. A charismatic leader. 2. Coercive persuasion, like brainwashing. And 3. Economic, sexual, or other exploitation of group members. People tend to join these groups when they are the most vulnerable and looking for acceptance and a place in the world, and these groups tend to exploit them. These groups seem to target people who are new to the area or those who have recently undergone some personal or professional loss. Loneliness and a desire for meaning makes a person susceptible to friendly people offering a community. These recruitments are subtle, establishing a relationship with their targets before inviting them to a social event, then using techniques of coercive persuasion involving guilt, shame, and fear, making these people submit as a member in order to belong.
He made you feel like you were his one and only love, and yes, there were other girls, but we all shared him, but he made you feel really special.
This actually made people even more loyal to him because they started seeing him as some type of God, like something above them. He had something about him that was charming and convincing, and people were just hooked on him.
John G. Clark Jr., an assistant clinical professor of psychiatry at Harvard, states that many people who join and remain in cults do so out of a sincere quest for religious connection. Whether or not a cult is destructive is determined by the morality of the cult leader and the nature of the leader's charismatic dream.
But anyone that was a member of Jonestown and lived there permanently was a full-time employee of Jim, and he basically owned them. And people were working crazy hours for Jim. He basically convinced people that the more they worked, the better their life was going to be, and the better the church would be for future generations and for the world, that they were saving the world. They thought they were part of something bigger than themselves.
Fringe groups may be hard to identify, but if someone tells you to sacrifice your relationships for the greater good, they're most likely exploiting you. Believing in something should not come at the cost of your family and friends, or your beliefs and morality. Be aware of these groups and don't let people take advantage of you. Noelia Gonzalez, Borderzine.com.